In this video, we're gonna see how we can import models and scenes from the external into 3ds Max and use it with Corona for 3ds Max to render our scenes. So in the previous video, we talked about the Chaos Cosmos libraries and the material libraries that we already have when we buy Corona, when we get Corona render. And so we can use them to populate quickly our scenes. But what if we don't find what we need to insert in our scene? Well, in that case, we can use different websites. The first one is Render People. I'm gonna leave a link on the description. And in this website, you will find a lot of 3D models for people in many different software, including 3ds Max. And you will find Maya for Cinema 4D, Rhino, and all the other most popular software, 3D software out there. So this is one example, and we made this example in the previous video, in a previous video. And in this other one here, we're gonna select something more complex to import and to adjust. So the second website I want to show you is TurboSquid. Also here you will find different formats, including 3ds Max formats, but also Maya, Cinema 4D, Blender. And if you want, you will find video courses in this channel about all these other software. So if you don't find what you're looking for, just write in the comments. Now I'm doing some search here. You can see I'm searching for 3ds Max modules, and you can filter. You can use some filters here, and you can decide which one you want to bring in. And there are also other formats that you can use. Now, if you don't find 3ds Max, which is of course the best option, and even better if it's 3ds Max and Corona already set up for you, just as we saw with Render People. But if you don't find that, if you need to choose some of these other formats, where you can go with the OBJ and the FBX. So if you have SketchUp, for example, you can first try with SketchUp, and if you don't find anything, the second choice should always be OBJ and FBX. And also you can find here Blender, Cinema 4D, and other software. Now Blender is an open source 3D software that also can be helpful to convert some of the formats that you don't find. So for example, you can import in Blender in a format called GLTF, which is open source, and you can export in OBJ and FBX. So I definitely suggest you can use Blender as a converter, but you also find on the web a lot of converters that will convert your format again to FBX or OBJ. Now, based on my experience, I can say FBX is the one that works better in most of the software. So when I'm looking for something, I always go for FBX if I don't find in the native format, which in this case is 3ds Max and Corona. So another website is Sketchfab. And by the way, if you're interested in these websites, you can search for other video guides in our channel. You will find other examples of how to use TurboSquid or how to use Sketchfab and to import models and textures and materials and so on. So just look for in the channel. If you don't find what you're looking for, write in the comments, ask for assistance, do your questions, and also you can write suggestions if you want. So I'm gonna filter here also, and I want to filter, you can see here I'm filtering by time. I'm only seeing that week, but now I have created a new search. So you can see how many CC0, which means public domain 3D models, you will find here in Sketchfab. You really find a lot of 3D models. Now, what you want to do here is click on download the 3D model, and that's it. Now you need to create an account for both TurboSquid and Sketchfab. You need an account in order to access your area and then download the models. Now you can also see here how heavy is the model and what formats are will be available. You can see OBJ is there, and then we have GLTF, which is pretty common in Sketchfab, and that's an open source software. So you need to bring that into Blender and then re-export in OBJ or FBX. You can see there the example where you can import this OBJ, and like Unity, Unreal, other software support this type of format. So you have a lot of information here when you need to download a 3D model. Especially the most important thing you want to check is how heavy it is in terms of number of vertices and polygons, and also if it's available for your software. Now this one also here is another OBJ, this lion statue. Now I'm gonna bring in some of these different 3D models just to show you some different formats like OBJ, FBX, and perhaps something else. We will see. If you go in the staff picks, also these are like the selected 3D models, so the one that are most voted, or they are a good quality. And this is FBX right here. So we can also download this one here, and you can see all the names of these assets and also the authors. If you are interested, you can find them also in Sketchfab, or you can look for something that you like. Now you can see I've already imported some models inside from TurboSquid, from Sketchfab, FBX, OBJ. I already rendered them out. So we're gonna do this process all together, step by step, as usual. We are starting with these really simple lessons. This will be the first lessons, and then we will move on to more complex topics later on using lights, using materials. So I'm gonna add here a box in 3ds Max just to have a little bit of surrounding in my room here, so that I don't have a blank background. I want to add some walls, and remember that the colors which are automatically assigned will be the color that you will see in the render, so you can change the color. This is not really like working with materials yet, but it's a start. It's starting to work with colors. You can have an idea of what your wall will look like when you will apply, for example, a paint material there. There you go. So I just need two walls. I don't need so much. I just need something as a background for my scene. And now let's start to import. So I'm going to go to File, Import. And if I have a native file like 3ds Max, I can do merge. So I can merge two scenes together. Or I can open directly the 3ds Max file. I can replace. I can also link Revit, which is an architectural software for architecture. I can link FBX, and I can link AutoCAD. No, if you're interested in AutoCAD and Revit, so architecture software for creating architectural projects, you can again search it in the channel. Now in this case, we're gonna go for the import, and I'm going to create a folder where I will import my stuff here in Corona. And you can see here I have Sketchfab. I have a folder for Sketchfab already, and I'm gonna go for this bust of Rosa, which is another mesh, another model that I have found in Sketchfab. And you can see you always will find a source folder where the 3D model will be, and a texture folder where the images for the materials will be. And this is my object right here, which I can now, if I right click and go to properties, I can see which format it is, and it's OBJ. So I can now bring it into the scene. So I can also filter here by format, and you can see all the formats here that are supported by 3ds Max, which means all the formats that you can use for with Corona for 3ds Max. So you can see how many different formats are there, and most of those are really popular. You also have STL for the 3D printing, and many other that you can check. But I'm gonna use only the most popular, which are the FBX, OBJ. And so here it is. Now I'm importing. I can choose what to import here if I have a list of different options, and also I can see in the geometry if I want to flip the axis. I can see here I can work with the normals, I can work with the scale. So I have a bunch of options that I can check, but I usually go for the the preset here and then see if something is not right. I can fix it directly in 3ds Max, or perhaps try a different import. Now you can see it's I'm going to have probably an issue with the material. But there you go. That's the mesh right there. The geometry looks fine. The object looks fine. The only thing is that it's too big. So I'm gonna just scale it down with the scale tool in 3ds Max, and then I'm gonna move it into position so I can place this on the floor or on a table depending on where I want to place it. And there we go. So it showed me a message before that it didn't manage to insert the material. So how do we manage materials and textures when we import models? Well, we need to know a little bit about materials and texture, but we can quickly fix this. I'm gonna show you how. So also here we have the two statues in FBX format, and again, it's looking like they're missing something because they look totally black. So if I go in the material editor, and I'm gonna switch to the compact material editor, I can then select an empty sphere there and pick the materials to see what materials has been assigned. And you can see that's a physical material. So that's a material which is like a standard for 3ds Max. It's not a Corona material. So the best thing is to convert in Corona materials. Otherwise, by default, the 3ds Max is going to use the physical materials, which are also looking good, but I think the best option is to use Corona materials. Now I'm going to delete those. I'm going to show you again the import process. So I'm going to go to File, Import, Import, and again navigate into the folder and get this time this other format here, which is not OBJ but FBX this time. So just to show you a little bit the difference between one and the other. Also, another option you have to import models and scenes is to just drag and drop from the folder. Now we can actually see that the texture folder here, we have folders for both of the statues, and that's the file there. I'm gonna click and drag directly into the scene. So you can see I can link it, so it means it will stay connected to the original, or I can import it, and which means you're gonna just bring it into the scene, and then you need to re-import it if you want to change it. So I'm gonna import, and that's it. So this is how they are looking like. They look black, but they have the correct size, so I don't need to scale it. Well, perhaps I will scale it more. I will make them a little bit bigger, but this is probably the original size. And I'm gonna render. Okay, you can see here it's telling me something, and it's probably missing some texture there because diffuse, it's a term that it's used when we work with textures. So I'm gonna try to find the texture myself, and usually the textures are stored into the texture folder. So when you download assets from the web, you usually will find a texture folder. And then I'm gonna click and drag directly onto the object. This is the quickest way you can assign a texture and automatically create a material. So I'm just gonna click and drag and see if everything goes fine. Now, since I have two different textures here, the chance is that I have inverted them. So I need to make sure that they look fine. And also I'm gonna add here the boost of Rosa directly there. I'm gonna take the diffuse texture, which is the one that is colored, not the black and white, not the purple texture, but the diffuse texture, and I'm gonna click it and drag it inside the object, inside the scene. And that's gonna create for me automatically a material with just one texture. But again, this is just the beginning. This is just to start to understand how everything works here, more or less. And of course, if you are an expert in 3ds Max, you should know all of this. But if you're not, you can check the video course in 3ds Max that you will find in the channel. Now I'm again importing this other file here, which is the lion, and I'm just gonna again, try if everything works fine or if I need to make some fixing. And again, this is a OBJ. Okay, now it's telling me that I already have it in the scene, so it was asking me if I wanted to use the same material or if I want to give it another name. And now you can see here we have another issue. It's not oriented properly. So what I need to do here is also to rotate it. So sometimes the axis could be switched, so you won't find the model rotated correctly. You need to fix it yourself. But you can see that's not an issue. So it's something really simple. And now this is too small. So again, we need to fix this. We need to scale it up. And also you see the pivot is not in the correct position. So I'm gonna affect the pivot here, and I'm going to change the position and center the pivot to the object in order to manage the 3D model a little bit better. So we'll scale it again, and I will move it a little bit up there, and there it is. So I already have the material applied. You can see there the texture can be visible. And so if I go in the material editor again, select an empty sphere, click on the material picker, pick the material on the object, it's going to show me that material right there, which I already had because I already did this import before. And if I scroll down there, I can see everything that 3ds Max has done for me automatically. So basically creating a physical material and applying a base color or a diffuse color or a diffuse texture. But again, don't worry if you are missing something. We're gonna talk about this topic of materials and textures later on. We're gonna explore it with more depth and in details. So you can see here I've imported Chaos Cosmos assets in combination also with other models and meshes from the outside, from other websites, from other sources. And so I'm gonna go back to those statues here because I think there's something wrong with the textures. So I think I've inverted them. So I will just pick with the color picker the two materials that are automatically created, again, physical materials, and then I will invert them. And now you can see they look fine. So they were like inverted. Now they look great. So we are just using physical materials at the moment. We didn't even started with Corona materials, but we do see that we can actually use physical materials. So everything you did perhaps in 3ds Max before starting to work with Corona can be used here in Corona without any issue. So don't worry, you can take any scene, any model from 3ds Max, and you can use it in Corona without changing a thing. But again, the suggestion is, well, also keep in mind that you are working with a CPU, GPU, and you need to take your polygons number down. Now, if you're interested in creating more realistic models, by the way, so highly detailed models, you can check ZBrush or Matbox, and you will find also courses in ZBrush and Matbox in our channel as well. So you can see here how you can increase the level of details by increasing progressively the number of polygons. But the more you increase them, the heavier the mesh will be. And ZBrush and Matbox are also good to create materials and textures, by the way. So you can use them if you want, if you're interested in creating statues or characters and things like that, just as a quick suggestion. So let's get back here to 3ds Max, and let's do some other operation here. So I'm gonna save the scene, and I'm gonna move into another scene here just to show you some other tool that can be helpful. Now this is a 3ds Max scene. You will find it in the 3ds Max video course. This is an exterior, and it has animation, it has materials, animated materials, and animated people, lighting, so Arnold lights basically. So you can see everything here has been done with Arnold. So all I need to do is just switch from Arnold to Corona render. That's the first step you need to do when you want to use Corona render for a new scene, and just run a render. You will see also the messages that are of everything that's causing issues, that's causing problems. And you see the issues there, the main issues are from standard materials, standard surfaces. So that's the first thing we need to fix. And also physical camera is not working good with Corona. So we need to address these issues. We need to know how to fix them. You can see the wrong materials are displayed with that really um, visible red material. So if you go here and open up the Corona converter, the first thing I will probably do is try to convert everything automatically. So you can see here also you have a lot of options. You can try to convert lights into Corona lights, bitmaps to Corona bitmaps, but the most important thing is to try to convert materials into Corona materials. And you can also check all other options here. There are really a lot of them, but essentially try to convert as much assets as you can. And okay, also here we have other tools that we can see, but let's just try to convert everything for now. Or you can go more specific if you want. Okay, conversion finished. You can see successfully converted 37 of 23 maps and 69 lights. So with just one click, we adapted a standard 3ds Max scene to a Corona scene. And now let's re-render again. Now we have the same issue for the materials, and I guess it didn't solve the issue concerning the camera. So we need to get out of the camera right now because it's not working properly. And so the first thing I would do there is just go to camera and deselect. So select the standard camera, a standard camera or perspective camera, not a physical camera. And you can see also there the issues with materials. Everything looks like reflective, which is not appropriate. It's not good. It needs to be changed. Now let's re-render without the physical camera. And we can see now we're just getting a little bit better than before, because we can start to see something here. We can start to see the swimming pool. We can start to see people. We can start to see some materials. We still have that problem with the red materials, but again, that's something we can fix little by little. But essentially, you just need to replace those materials that were not replaced automatically. You need to do it manually. You need to do everything that the converter couldn't do. You need to do it yourself. So you can start, you can try to convert automatically, and then if you don't manage to solve the problem, we're going to see how we can fix a lot more problems later. We will see how to work with materials and other. Now, if you use the material picker, by the way, you can see there all those red spheres represent the issue there, the material that is not recognized by Corona, that is not compatible with Corona. So just if you know how to do it, you just need to substitute the material. So you go to the material map browser and go to the Corona materials and just use a Corona material or a physical material instead of this material that is causing you problems. And by the way, in the physical materials, you also have presets, so you can find like a brushed metal right away or a plastic or anything you want, and just go there and replace the one that is causing problems. So you can see I've replaced those red spheres, which means that I've replaced the material that is giving me issues. And there you go. Now I can only see it. I don't see it on the window there anymore because I fixed it, but I still have it in other parts of my scene. So I need to fix those as well. And so you get the idea. And we're just getting started here. We just worked with the physical materials. We didn't even start to talk about Corona materials, but we're gonna get into that little by little, step by step. So this will be all for this lesson. If you enjoyed, please subscribe. And if you want to send us a little thank you, a little support, you can do it by joining the channel as a supporter. And if you have, again, questions, you can leave it in the comments. Also, if you have suggestions. See you in the next video.